I think you might be excited for this one though, Mike. That's why I gave it to you.
So this one's about the Overwatch League and Activision Blizzard. Dextero, Michael William? G. William?
G. William. Yep.
Yeah. Is it William?
William.
That's an interesting last name. I've never heard that before.
Sounds funny.
Yeah. All right, so how about we get into this? It's called Blizzard officially, and in quotes, transitions from Overwatch League as teams announce departure. Sheesh. So this has kind of been a long time coming, I think, and I'll get into details of why I've come to that conclusion as we continue reading. So, the end of the Overwatch League is finally upon us, with teams officially voting to opt out, Blizzard confirming a transition in Overwatch Esports. As Dextero previously reported, the 19 remaining Overwatch League teams are entitled to receive $6 million termination fee if they vote against a new operating agreement. Teams originally paid a whopping 20 to 35 million in franchise fees, plus operating costs, throughout the league's existence. So although the compensation may not be much, there is still incentive. So far, only one team has announced their exit from the Overwatch League, but many others are expected to follow suit. On November 8th, OverActive Media, the owner of the Toronto Defiant, confirmed that they would be leaving Overwatch League. Right off the bat, dude.
Ooh.
How many times have we talked about the franchise leagues and how they're basically only to enrich the developers?
Yeah, it's just in the esports model, I don't think it works. Like, and I think that's kind of, we both agree.
Yeah.
It's just not, I don't know if it'll ever work at some point in the future, but I don't know. I just feel like right now it's like, if an esports league is more grassroots kind of, I think it's more successful and it's easier for people to get into it.
That's the only way it works. I think going back to like the Major League Gaming days where people fielded their own teams and you had to compete to get into a pro spot, which was usually like a designation of a top 8 or top 16 placing, and continually doing that. Like, don't get me wrong, Major League Gaming would pay teams to actually show up because that would bring the fans there and make higher competition. You want more incentive for players to be there. But this $20 to $30 million franchise fee tags, when franchises in general in esports make 0 sense at all.
Yeah.
Paying players like multi-million-dollar contracts and they don't create any content, they don't sell any merch for you, they barely sell any of the sponsorship deals. It just doesn't, you're never going to get your money back.
Yeah, I mean,
just,
there's no way you get your money back.
Yeah.
It's a large investment and really no return. It's just kind of bad business at the end of the day. It's like,
yeah. The other thing to add in that I've had arguments with people that are like very big on these franchise leagues and esports, and they're saying like this is the future, this is what it needs to be, and they try to make it seem like it's for the like it's similar to the NFL or NBA or MLB, any major league sports team in the United States where the franchises. That doesn't work because those teams in the professional sports of like NFL, NBA, MLS, all those kind of ones, they own their own stadiums.
yeah.
And so when you go to watch their games, you're going into their arenas where you're being charged to see them.
Yeah.
And you're being charged to like buy merch there, buy like food, refreshments, beer, whatever, like whatever's there. And they get like money back from that. What do the esports teams get? They don't own the arenas they play in.
Right.
They're not selling, like they got a merch stand, but are you selling
but like,
$20 million worth of merch in 5 years?
I mean, it's
no,
not
probably not.
Yeah, probably not. It's not the same as traditional sports, right? Where it's like you have these you have these years and years of history and lineage. It's like
that's true. Yeah.
Like, you go to this and it's like, I mean, you don't have star players, and granted, you don't even have that big of an audience, I think, to really garner like a lot of merch sales to actually make some of that money back. So it's like it's hard for people to go to these events and kind of pull for these teams when you don't really know who's playing. And it's much different, man. Like sports is, I mean, just the amount of revenue that the NFL and the MLB and all that they bring in on just merch and like player likeness alone is it's insane.
It's
and
through the roof.
It's unmatched to what esports is at the moment. Could we get to that point? I would love for it to get to a point where it's like, we have like esports has a similar level of audience as, traditional sports. But we're definitely not there yet. And it just doesn't make sense to drop 30 million on these teams when it's like probably wouldn't cost that much to like run a league anyway. It's like I understand they're trying to make profit off, you know, the broadcast and whatnot, but it's like, oh man, I would much rather watch a more grassroots league. I think it'd be more appealing, at least right now. So
Yeah, I think grassroots leagues in general are more appealing because they incentivize. Yeah, I guess it's two-edged sword. It's like it incentivizes more competition because everybody's on a more equal playing field. Even though you can have like the best players in the world just go out there and dominate your like best friends and cousin over there that just formed a team at the door. Like I get that's kind of why the like you want to have a franchise league in a way, or have like a champ bracket separated from the general pool of players. I get that, but it's still like to me, the more numbers, the more people that you have playing, the better the competition, the more insane it is. It's like you would want a Cinderella team to go deep into a playoff situation in a tournament, you know?
yeah,
Like those are stories that people can get behind. But when you do that you can't do that in a franchise league.
yeah,
You can in a way, like the NFL does that when they do the wild card playoffs, and then you get like a team that went 7-9 make it to like the championship or something.
yeah,
It's like that's crazy. Very unlikely, but it could happen
yeah,
theoretically.
yeah. It's true.
Um,
It definitely could happen. Yeah, I mean the whole playoff seeding and stuff like that too. It's like kind of makes that interesting once you go like deeper in. So yeah,
True.
but yeah, I don't know. There's things they could do at esports. I think. I think for Overwatch too, just kind of if they went more bare bones, I'd be interested to see kind of what that's like. Especially for a game
Yeah.
like that. I mean, it's certainly like a stable game in terms of. I mean, I don't watch much competitive Overwatch, but I feel like it'd be kind of a more more like coherent experience in terms of a game that's been doing it for a while and is pretty overall like stable. I don't know how many bugs and stuff are still in Overwatch. I don't know if it's like a big thing, especially competitive, but
It's the problem with competitive Overwatch just in general is when somebody finds a meta, the meta stays the same for like the course of a season, and every single team does it. So then it just comes down to who has the better execution of that meta.
yeah,
And that can get kind of stagnant where you have just like everybody's just waiting to charge up their ult to have one big push. And it's like you kind of know what's coming, you kind of see what's coming.
yeah,
And don't get me wrong, the Overwatch League fan base is loyal and they love that stuff. I get it, it's fun, but it gets kind of bored. It doesn't really like drag people back. And I think what they're missing is something more about a little bit more competition where you can have Cinderella teams probably make upsets in an open bracket scenario. Or just like to try to entice fans to make them actually believe, oh crap, if I just go to this open tournament and I just like hit a nice run and I've been playing well online, we've been training so hard, we might be able to make it to that pro bracket. If I could just make it that far, then I'll
yeah,
finally get the attention to get on one of these pro teams.
yeah.
Like that's what's missing, I think, in the franchise
Yeah,
leagues.
dude, yeah, no kidding, man. It's hard to get your foot in the door, especially in franchise league, because
It's
very much established players and
it's established players. It's gatekeeping, really,
yeah,
because most of the players, like the top players, only play with each other in pickup games, and you have to know somebody to vouch for you so that you can play a game with them. And if you play really really bad, like you just have an off game and you just play bad, you're forever labeled as like trash, and then they'll never invite you again. So it's like that's just how it is in pretty much every esport. It's
yeah,
very very weird.
yeah.
Um, should
Man, it's crazy.
let's read this like last quote, and
Yeah,
because we've been kind of ranting about it. Last quote here. So this strategic restructuring of our league assets marks a new chapter of Overwatch Active. Co-founder of Overwatch Active Media, Adamu, I think. He continues saying, "We extend our deepest thanks to the Overwatch League, its fans, for the community, and the community for their unwavering support. Toronto Defiant has proudly competed under the league's banner, and we built incredible memories together. As we transition to the next phase of Overwatch Esports, we look forward to the opportunities that lie ahead." So pretty much, they're heading out the door because it doesn't make any more financial sense to be there, and they're just not seeing their return on investment, probably, or success that they were expecting. This
yeah.
isn't going to be the first time that more and more of these teams are going to start leaving. And I wonder what the leagues are going to do. Because they're not going to give their franchise feedback, I don't think.
I mean, yeah, it's hard to say, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit further in that article too, they also do mention about possible negotiations with ESL FACEIT. to try and maybe do a different, thing. I mean, we know the FACEIT experience. Like, I think we we understand how that can be. So, a little worrying, but I mean, it's I mean, whatever. Let's try something new for sure. In that realm, it can maybe do some good for the Overwatch League. It's weird, man. We'll have to keep an eye and see how how the buyouts and stuff go with this and who leaves and if it actually does dissolve. Because now I'm just curious.
One last final thing about the ESL FACEIT situation that they're saying that they're looking at negotiations. That makes zero sense to me because like you have MLG that's owned by Activision Blizzard and they've never used that brand. I don't understand why. Like I understand ESL is a major league and it's pretty intense, but I think MLG was bigger for a while. And then when they bought MLG, they just didn't do anything with it ever again.
Which is crazy, but yeah. So,
I don't understand that. I don't get it. So
could be time to bring it back, Mike. I don't know.
We'll see what Xbox does.